Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on when you are catching this stream. Welcome to the third installment of the Agenor Media podcast. If you like what you heard so far, if you like what you hear, well, I invite you to do just that. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, hit the bell for more content in the future. So I'm gonna get right into it. There's gonna be a few things to cover today. So last week I spoke about standards. Today I wanted to focus on a different nature when it came to expectation for part two. But as you well know, the media space can have a lot of events happening, and sometimes you have to make adjustments. So I'll be making a part three to finish what I wanted to do initially, but certain things happened during last week that really encapsulate what I covered last week, last Sunday, when I was talking about standards and how standards are about you, how standards start with you. And this is why the title is With Standards Comes Expectations, because you can't have one without the other. But one is about you, while the other is mainly about other people around you and how well they can perform up to the so-called standard. So last Sunday, I finished with the question that I asked. And the question was, you see, it doesn't matter. This is the statement I made. It doesn't matter how modern the world gets. We still have traditional expectations when it comes to men. That's just the reality of it. If you're in a restaurant, if you're in a public setting and bullets start flying, any woman who's with a significant other will have the expectation that he will protect her. She doesn't know how. She doesn't care how. She doesn't know if he can. She doesn't care if he can. He is a man. She is a woman. If somebody has to get hurt, she hopes or she feels it should be him. Okay? And as men, we accept this because as a brother, if you have a sister, a niece, a daughter, or a cousin, you would not want her to be with a man who cannot satisfy these expectations. That if crap hits the fan, you expect him to stand up and rise to the occasion, right? So we have some sort of a unified standard when it comes to men in terms of what we seem as respectable, what we seem as a baseline of what type of man would deserve to be with a quality woman. So there's really no objection on that end. That's why I asked the question, well, what is the standard of womanhood? What are some of the things that a woman would need or would have to show proper disposition at all times so that in the same vein, there is some sort of a unified or uniform agreement that if a woman fails to satisfy these conditions, that she is, undeserving and unworthy of a quality man. So today we're going to look at two different situations. The first one is going to be concerning the recent story with Mr. Jonah Hill. A lot of you probably already heard some of it, but to summarize it for you, he was dating this woman called Sarah Brady, and allegedly she says that she calls him that he was abusive in his in her dealings with him. And essentially the story is that he wanted her to behave a certain way. He expressed his boundaries. He expressed his standards as to what a relationship between a man and a woman encapsulate. And she essentially did not like it. She essentially refused to stand by it. And because she left, hey, that's life, y'all. Gotta handle your business. And she essentially, they broke up about 6 months ago. And now she's coming back saying the guy was abusive and a bunch of other nonsense. So we have the transcript of what they told each other at least. And in this article, they sort of tried to regroup them by the dates or close to in terms of months, you're going to see how, in the progression of how this thing unfolded, how very immature, this is the claim that I'm making, I'm saying it up front. You're going to see how very immature and childlike the woman's behavior was in this story. And how it doesn't really matter if you do right or wrong as a man. When you decide to stand on your square, for some reason, you're still going to be this bad guy to somebody's eyes. Okay? So, going through the article. The title says, Jonah Hill, Sarah Brady text messages, full transcript. Okay? On July 11th, 2023. So, it says, Jonah Hill's ex-girlfriend Sarah Brady has continued to share Instagram story posts showing text messages that she alleges she received from the actor during the relationship, which she has since described as emotionally abusive. All right? Remember this. She says it was emotionally abusive. So, Brady, a surf instructor and model, began sharing screenshots on July 7th of these alleged exchanges. Hill, the 39-year-old star of Superbad, and Brady went public with their relationship August 2021 and split in 2022. Okay. Quote, this is a warning to all girls. If your partner is talking to you like this, make an exit plan. Call me if you need an ear. End quote. Brady captioned the post. So, she called it emotionally abusive, and she said, if someone is talking to you that way, make an exit plan. You guys are going to see how this makes no sense real soon. She shared messages that allegedly showed Hill requesting that she remove surfing photos from her Instagram account that showed her behind in a thong. So, and it says Hill has yet to publicly address the allegation. As we know, this is the only form of this is the only way men so far have found to combat, public smearing. They just have to stay quiet because anything they say is used against them immediately. So, Brady said she had timed the release of her allegations with consideration of Olivia Millar, Hill's partner, who has recently given birth to their first child. I'm sure the timing can seem bad, like, oh yeah, I waited until he had a kid, said Brady on Instagram. Well, that is literally what you did. And you see, this is a perfect example of how women don't care. It is so bad they don't even care about each other. Okay? This is the first instance where you can already tell how juvenile Mrs. Brady was in dealing with this situation. Okay? To her own admission, she knew Mr. Hill had another partner. He knew they were expecting a child. And soon after, his lady gives birth, he releases this, calls him emotionally abusive on the internet, dragging his name to the mud, as if she doesn't understand what that can do to their couple, right? So, according to her, as soon as a woman gives birth, she doesn't have to deal with any postpartum symptoms, right? She's ready to go right back on track. Life goes on as usual, right? There's no symptoms after giving birth. Everything is fine. Everything is normal. You're ready to deal with life as it comes. Very considerate from another woman. So we continue. Then she says, but I waited until she had her baby, so I knew they were physically not impacted by me sharing this SHIT, and she could be informed and make an informed decision of how she wants to care for herself and her baby, which she birthed and she created. So she says it herself. She had the baby. So now that she's had the baby, she is, there's zero physical conditions that she could be going through. So now is the perfect time to release these messages. Right. So, women, being a woman herself, allegedly women do not go through complication after giving birth. It never happens. Oh, well. Okay. Yes, it's his child, but that is that woman's infant. That's how I see it. So, guys, you can already see this woman is essentially batshit crazy. Okay? It doesn't start well at all. From a pure logical perspective, from a pure moral standpoint, you have zero consideration for the other person. You have zero consideration for the other woman. You call the guy abusive, and then you're out there just being messy. Anyways, I'm going to skip to some of the unnecessary stuff here. Then she goes on to say, it may seem as if I'm sharing a lot, but you all have no idea how much there is, which I am choosing not to share out of consideration for him and his family. Brady wrote on Instagram Monday. Oh, so now you're being considerate. Oh boy. Okay. All right, guys. Remember the timeline. Remember what I said earlier. She said it was emotionally abusive, and that if someone start talking to you the way she's going to say he talked to her, you need to make an exit plan. So, according to the dates, right? Like they say, Newsweek has viewed and transcribed all of the former couple's alleged text message exchanges shared starting from October 2021 until August 2022. Several screenshots posted were undated, so have been placed in the order they were posted and or reflecting the flow of the conversation. Okay, so at around October 12th, 2021, she said, I'm sorry I said that. I had a couple beers and I'm just upset feeling like we can't do certain social things without an uncomfortable situation arising that usually feels like my fault somehow. I feel you pull away and then the feeling of being defective creeps in. I think I'm not socially intelligent enough to meet your needs as a partner, and then I get frustrated and angry at myself and just want you to rip the band-aid off if I'm not good enough for you. In moments of conflict, my brain thinks you want to dump me because I'm not good enough for you, and you're the GOAT, greatest of all time, and you can do better, and you will immediately once you end things with me. That's basically what happened. Then Jonah says, you're right, we can't do social things or develop trust until you consider me and make decisions that give regard to our relationship. I have been vulnerable as possible, and I am telling you, I am needing you to step up to the plate, which you can. I am sure of it. But these losers don't get your time if you want me. Straight up. It's consideration. I respect your love of surfing, but I respect myself as well. And your love of surfing and being in those situations and lack of awareness are not mutually exclusive. This isn't me. I have my own issues that I own. If you want marriage and family, you can't use the 25 card. Step up and cut, I assume, SHIT. These people don't get your time or your kindness at the sacrifice of mine. Guys, this is where a lot of men drop the ball. He said it clearly. He said he doesn't want to hear no excuse that you're going to be young, dumb, and full of cum. He's telling you what he's willing to deal with, what he is not willing to deal with. And he is telling you that he believes that you can be the person he wants to be with. But he is not going to give you something for other people to enjoy your time. Okay? This is basic here. Now we carry on. This is October 12, 2021. Okay. Then we have here, Jonah says, respect however you want to live. I think he's saying, I respect however you want to live. You only get one. Sort of done with explaining myself. So basically, he told her, look, these are my standards. This is what I choose to deal with. This is what I refuse to deal with. Now it's your call. Okay? And now they're arguing about what she was wearing. And there's some back and forth going on. And this is where you kind of see the breaking point taking place. Where it says here, you don't seem to get it. Then she says, all the posts I removed from my page. Jonah says, good start. You don't seem to get it, but it's not my place to teach you. I've made my boundaries clear. You refuse to let go of some of them if you've made that clear, and I hope it makes you happy. Literally just say hello and leave the convo. I love how your therapist thinks I suck. I literally am the best friend on earth. So, in other words, he had to tell her multiple times what he was comfortable with, what he was not comfortable with. And she kept hanging on to some of these things that she did not want to let go. And he said it best. He said, you know what? I've told you what I had to say. And you made your choice. I made mine. So have a nice day. I'm going to go this way. You go that way. Hey, and we'll figure it out. Right? Now we are December 2nd, 2021. According to the order of the transcript. And then Jonah says, plain and simple, if you need surfing with men, boundary-less inappropriate friendship with men, to model, to post pictures of yourself in a bathing suit, to post sexual pictures, friendship with women who are in unstable places, and from your wild recent past beyond getting a lunch or coffee or something respectful, I am not the right partner for you. He says it himself. I am not the right partner for you. If these things bring you to a place of happiness, I support it, and there will be no hard feelings. These are my boundaries for the romantic partnership. My boundaries with you based on the ways these actions have hurt our trust. So maybe something happened that she's not saying, right? Maybe there's something that she's not sharing about some of the stuff she said or she did. So here, December 2nd, okay, last was October 12th. That's about 3 months, 2 months, 2 to 3 months. This goes back to what I said last week when it came to the standards of relationships. There are only 3 types of relationship. Number 1, you leave because you realize it's not going to work. You have short term, then you have long term. You don't need 6 months of a situationship to understand that Mr. Hill told you that your lifestyle is not going to fit with him. Again, he has explained it multiple times, and he even admits he is not the guy for you. He's not insulting you. He's not calling you names. He's not calling you anything. He is just calling it black and white and letting you know that this is not going to work if you choose to stand your ground. See, as a man, you will be tested. Okay? He made it clear, and then she's out there crying, well, he's emotionally abusive. You need to make an exit plan because the man is telling you up front what he doesn't or can deal with. I have yet to see anything that is emotionally abusive in what she chose to share. Okay? And then he says, now to have another chapter here, keep taking me for granted. Jonah says, oh, and modeling, which is the last profession I would be with as a partner. And then she replies in quotation, top picks. So she kind of knows what's going on. She's playing dumb, but she knows what's going on. Then he says, laugh out loud, must be hard feeling so trapped. Now, they're having another useless conversation about nothing. And then here we go. Hurtful and triggering. Jonah says, it's just constant and doesn't reflect where we're at or where you say you want to be. I respect your skill and your surfing. I respect how you want to present yourself. I respect that you're hot and beautiful, and I respect however you want to live. But I also respect myself. That's twice he said that. And what I'm interested in my own life and what I let into my heart and inner circle. So celebrate yourself in your life however you please and shine bright. But I don't want to have to deal. Probably an incomplete sentence. In other words, he doesn't want to deal with whatever he has that he doesn't agree with. Okay. Then he says again, responding to I agree with everything you said except I'm not comfortable with you posting bathing suit pictures, nor may I ever want that for my partner. And I reserve that right and I'm open about it. Let me know. Will respect you either way, but these are my boundaries. Again, making it clear. I'm not going to assault you. I'm going to respect your decision. And if you chose to go your way, I'll go mine. Will respect you either way, but these are my boundaries of this romantic relationship. Thanks. I'd love to know before the premiere so I'm not put in the position of publicly flaunting our love if my boundaries are going to be continued to be disrespected. That would be hurtful and triggering to me. So in other words, before I go out there claiming you publicly, you know his position. He's an actor. He's an entertainer. He needs to know where you stand. Again, he's not letting it slide. He's standing on his square as a man. And look at her response. Understood. So you have it right there. Understood. You know exactly what he told you. You know exactly what he explained to you. And from October to December, you had all the information you needed. That if the context, if the boundaries that he set for the relationship did not suit your taste as a woman, what you needed to do was not what you needed was not an exit plan. What you needed was to be an adult and walk away. That's what you needed to do. You did not need to go all the way to August of 2022. I'm not even going to bother with the rest of this because it makes no sense to me. You did not need to reach August of 2022 if by December 2nd you understood everything that was said about his boundaries, about his standards, and about his expectation in terms of your conduct as a woman. You see, this is the perfect example of how you see that in every other aspect of life, we have a perfect understanding of basic concepts. But whenever it comes to relationship, we always want to act brand new, as if we didn't understand some of these things. Let me give you an example. See, when it comes to your job, right? Your job will have a dress code. You don't call it emotional abuse. You comply. Okay? They will tell you to dress a certain way. You will do it for your job. Your job might require you to move. Hey, we have a job for you. We're going to hire you, but we need you to go work over there. We have 3 to 4 buildings, and we require you to work at all 4 of these buildings in rotation if necessary. And what do? You do just that. You move. Okay? And remember, you do this for a company, you do this for companies that are under no obligation to keep you for the next 40 plus years. Again, COVID should have taught you this. And yet, you go out there and you're going to do anything that is required to keep your job. But when it comes to a man of who you're going to have the expectation, and you're going to tell yourself, well, he has to do this, he got to have this, he got to have that. And he's supposed to stick by your side for the next 40 plus years. You mean to tell me he's not allowed to have some quote unquote boundaries? See, you ladies are not going to go to work and trying to find yourself in a position with HR because you keep dressing inappropriately and now they got to fire you. You're not going to mess up your money because you understand. So why is it that when it comes to a relationship, you want to pretend as if these principles don't apply anymore? Guys, we're talking about a grown ass adult woman behaving like a shameless juvenile. Remember, she releases those text messages after Mr. Hill's significant other gives birth to their child. All you had to do was walk away. Like I said last week, there are 3 types of relationships only. The first one where people make the mistake is leaving. You meet, you have an honest conversation, you state what you're about, they state what they're about, you share each other's habits. Are your habits compatible with mine? Because this is what we have to understand. We are creatures of habit. And on a regular basis, we are going to do what we know. So if what you know is going out there living a lifestyle that is not conducive to his, if he doesn't see a track record of you changing or amending that lifestyle, then he already knows he doesn't need to waste his time. And remember, he did it in a respectful fashion, and he's still getting flack for it. Being gratuitously called an emotional abuser on the internet just because he's famous. Right? So this is the context where you have a man who literally takes the time, and you have the receipts, who literally takes the time and says, this is what I deal with, and this is what I do not deal with. He was tested, he stood his ground, and now she's out there crying, a year later, talking about, this guy was abusive. So gentlemen, don't be surprised. If you told a chick, if you texted her on Instagram or someplace and you said, listen, I can't really deal with you if you have too many male friends, don't be surprised if she, trying to slap you with a comment on your IG or somewhere on social media talking about how you were emotionally abusive. Because allegedly, that's enough, right? So this leads me to the second couple, which is Mr. Darius Jackson and Mrs. Kekepalmer. And guys, you're going to see an entirely different approach when it comes to dealing with unwanted behavior from a significant other. Okay. And unfortunately, Mr. Jackson is going to be sort of the poster child of what you don't want to do. He's going to be the poster child of how you do not want to handle a woman that exercises a behavior that you do not approve of. Okay. Recently, Mrs. Palmer and a boyfriend, they were basically in the heat of media because she went to a Usher concert, and for all intended purposes, she was basically, at least from a lot of men's point of view, she was basically like a groupie on stage. Okay. You're in a relationship with a man, and I don't think he's the father. I don't even think it's his child. So you're in a relationship with a man who's with your child at home, and you're out there in a concert, and you're overtly fraternizing with another man. Okay. And again, this is why I keep saying we need to have this conversation about what is the standard of womanhood, right? So in this article, it says Kekepalmer's boyfriend explains standard he held her to, and suddenly everything makes sense. Here we go again. Standards. But you're going to see that how you apply them matters just as much. Okay. And this is where you guys are going to understand why I say that standards begin with you, not her, you. Okay. So this is written by Chanel Janae. I'm curious. Let me see. Chanel Janae. That looks like a sister. Okay. So it's written by a woman. So of course, let us expect the ad hominem, gender bias, and sign language. All right, let's go. So it reads, while many online were shocked at Kekepalmer's boyfriend Darius Dalton Jackson's misogynistic response to the now viral clip of her and Usher laughing and enjoying themselves at a recent concert performance, a new interview clip between the pair foretold what was to come. Guys, The misogynistic response. Gentlemen, I don't know if you guys saw this. There was someone who made an interesting video on Instagram, and he was out and about asking women if they understood what the word misogyny meant. And you keep seeing this all the time. Women are just out there using a bunch of words because it feels good to say or to argue or to be loud, and they have zero understanding of what they're saying. Misogyny is hatred of women. So to say that Mr. Darius hates his wife, that is a reach. Okay, this is how easy women are being swayed into a bunch of talking points, into a bunch of opinions, into a bunch of feel-good Kool-Aid, that they just keep drinking, and they have no idea what the hell they're saying. Words matter because words have power. When you talk crazy, you act crazy. Okay? The guy does not hate his woman. He disliked her behavior. I mean, talk about an overreach. Talk about escalating something unnecessarily, right? Anyway, let's continue. I mean, I told you guys, as soon as I knew it was written by a woman, I could already tell this bull jive was coming in. In a recent episode of Palmer's podcast, Baby, This Is Kekepalmer, Jackson admitted that he held the Emmy-nominated actress to a perfect standard. Not too long after they went public with their relationship. At first, it definitely was hard because it could all be very overwhelming. It was definitely overwhelming and intense at first, he said. And it's like you almost feel that pressure of needing to be perfect. And so it really confused me and infiltrated my mind because not only did I have to hold myself to that perfect standard, I was also holding you to a perfect standard as well. Perfect, you say? This is the person who writes the article who says that. Perfect, you say, ? Like perhaps expecting the mother of your nearly 5-month-old child to essentially dress in potato sack while she's going while she's enjoying a night out with her girls to fit in some archetypal, stereotypical, outdated expectation you had to what a mother should dress and act like. Got you. See, this is important here. This you have and I believe this is the perspective of a lot of women on this situation. Okay. No man said that she had to dress in a goddamn potato or something in the lines that she can't dress or she can't dress nice. She can't look nice when she goes out. That is not what the man said. That's not what the men are saying, and that's not even what Mr. Darius said himself. Okay. But as always, they will overblow the situation. They will exaggerate the situation and have the audacity to call it outdated expectations. Guys, remember what I said on the last 2 streams? And I'll say it one more time. It doesn't matter how modern the world gets. We still have traditional expectations when it comes to men. It has yet to be outdated for a man to die for his woman. It has yet to be outdated for a man to not pay for women, because the moment he refuses, you call him broke, you call him cheap. We have not outdated shaming men for being broke. So this right here tells you everything you need to know about this writer's perspective on the situation and how a lot of women feel. They call it outdated expectations for you to dress like you got some sense. Okay. Anyway, let's carry on. As previously reported by The Root, Jackson became Twitter's enemy number one after reacting to a clip of his girlfriend laughing and singing along with Usher during his Las Vegas residency performance. Even though the clip went viral naturally off Palmer's fangirling reaction towards the There Goes My Baby singer, which same Kiki same. Oof. It was Jackson's criticism of the Hustler star's outfit that sent the clip into the stratosphere and him onto everyone's bad side. It's the outfit though. You're a mom. There you go. He wrote in the since deleted tweet. Guys, see, this is where he messed up. This is what you can't do. He later doubled down in a follow-up tweet. Oh my God. We live in a generation where a man of the family doesn't want the wife and mother to his kids to showcase booty cheeks to please other, and he gets told how much of a hater he is. This is my family and my representation. I have standards and moral to what I believe. I rest my case. That tweet has also been deleted. Gentlemen, this is the crux of what I want to discuss today. This is where, as men, we need to have a conversation. Because I agree, yes, women are out of order today. No doubt. However, there is a certain crossroad in your dealings with a woman where it is 100% your fault. It is 100% your responsibility as a man as to what outcomes awaits you after a certain point. What is the difference? What is the difference between how Mr. Jonah Hill expressed his standards and how Mr. Jackson did in this case? See, in Mr. Hill's situation, he told her beforehand. And not only that, before he told her what kind of expectations he would have for her, he put himself in a position to be able to have those expectations. Because let's be real, if Mr. Jackson had Mr. Hill's money and he was the number one breadwinner, there would only be two different things happening today. Either Mrs. Palmer adjusts her behavior or Mr. Jackson leaves. But that's not what happened. See, he tried to stand on his ground, she stood on her ground, so he was challenged, and then he capitulated. And another thing, Hill, in his case, he said, you do not meet my expectations. Therefore, have a nice day. God bless you. God keep you away from me. And he left. Again, you have three types of relationship. The first one is when you look each other dead in the eyes, you speak your terms, and if you realize that it is not meant to be, that it's not going to work, you leave. In the case of Mr. Jackson, the question now becomes, how did you prepare yourself before getting into this relationship? Because you have two cases here. You have a man who communicated his standards before. You have a man who communicates his standards during the relationship. And they're both in hot water. What was the problem? Well, the problem is, if you're dealing with a woman who lets you know up front that she refuses to have any sort of expectations placed on her, then after that point, see, I understand that women can run a good game on you, but gentlemen, after that point, it is 100% on you to decide if you deal with this woman or not. See, this is where making sure that you are prepared. This is where making sure that you're the best version of yourself comes in. You see, Mr. Hill, see, a lot of guys want to argue that, money is not everything, and a lot of men had an issue with some of the talking points and podcasts that mention that your income and the amount of money you have also plays a role in the sort of men, in the type of man you are, and the type of expectations you can have in terms of the women you're going to deal with. Well, you have a perfect example of why this matters. Mr. Hill was in a position that, hey, I'm the A side. You're coming here to play number 2. In Mr. Jackson's case, it looks like he signed up to be number 2. But you're out there trying to make decision like a number 1. See, this can't work. This cannot work. And this is where, as men, you're not going to get a lot of sympathy from the brothers. See, yes, was her behavior acceptable? No. You don't go out there being some kind of a groupie to another man when you got one at home with your child. I don't care what anybody says. This is unacceptable behavior. And you had a lot of women, particularly some black women, talking about, well, he didn't put a ring on it. Well, who would? If not being married gives you the right to behave in an unmarried fashion, then you're just proving why he should marry you. Okay? There's an old saying, you play like you practice. See, what you ladies think marriage begins when there's a ring on your finger? Is that where you ladies believe marriage begins? Do you really believe that's when it starts? Do you really believe that it begins when the guy puts a little diamond on your ring finger? That's when you think marriage begins. Guys, you don't want to be Mr. Jackson. Because, see, as a man, this is what happens. And this is what I believe happened to Mr. Jackson. You see, guys, whenever we are a bit, successful, if you look good, because from what I understand, he's a fitness trainer or something like that. And, he's young, handsome looking man. When we feel good about ourselves, we tend to feel, we reach a certain point where we think that we think we're him, right? We think we're that guy. Okay. And unfortunately for a lot of men, when you start feeling this way because you're starting to have some type of success, you have certain nice things going your way, there comes a point in time when you are tested. And you are only truly tested when her shows up. Do you think you're him until her shows up? And when I'm talking about her, I'm not talking about the girls you don't like. See, I'm not talking about the single moms and any type of woman who doesn't have any features that you're looking for. I'm not talking about the girl who says she's not going to cook, she's not going to clean. I'm talking about the girl you like. I'm talking about her. Clearly, Mrs. Palmer had enough of the things that Mr. Jackson liked. However, in contradiction to Jonah Hill, he did not, quote unquote, stand by whatever standards and morals he believes. And twice, you capitulated. So my question to Mr. Jackson is this. What are you going to do if it happens again? What are you going to do if this happens again? Let's just say Genuine is the next concert she goes to. And she goes on stage and, he performs Pony in those jeans, and she just gets on stage and she does it again with him. Then what are you gonna do? Because here you manifested that you had a problem with it, you backed down twice, and basically she challenged your backbone and realized you didn't have any. So what are you going to do if it happens again? See, this is a question that Mr. Jonah Hill doesn't have to ask himself, because when he saw that she wasn't about nothing, he didn't bother to keep continuing the relationship with her. This is why he's with another woman right now. This is why he's with another woman and Mr. Jackson is still with Mrs. Palmer. Because Mr. Hill put himself in a position where if the standards are not being met, he can either remove the people failing to meet his expectations or he can leave. Mr. Jackson can't do none of those. Gentlemen, this is not the way you want to handle going about having your standards and expectations met. This is not the way. And guys, notice something. This is why you have to be willing to stand on your square. Did you guys notice something? In both cases, you had men communicate what their boundaries were, what their standards were. And they were both vilified for it. This is not a black thing. This is not a white thing. You have a white woman, you have a black woman. You have the same thing going on. You have the concept that there's a man who has certain standards of what his relationship should be, how it should look like, and when he's not satisfied, he has two options: to stay or to leave. One is staying, one has left. In what situation you gentlemen would prefer to be in right now? Would you want to be in Mr. Jackson's position, where your woman basically challenged you and realized you had no backbone? Or would you want to be in Mr. Hill's position, where you saw that, hey, I really like that girl, but unfortunately it's not going to work, I'm going to let her go? Where do you want to be? I think we would want to be in Mr. Hill's position, because clearly he found someone who's not doing all the nonsense that Mrs. Brady said that she wanted to be able to do. To the point that he's expecting a child with that woman. See, this is why they say, go with the person that likes you. If you like them, it's even better. You got to work with someone who's willing to work with you. And guys, the reason why this is 100% on you, because you have to understand, this is no different than when you're dealing with a woman and you know she's basically a 3 or 4. You don't have any respect for her because you know she's not about anything serious. You're not going to put a ring on her finger. You're just going to go out there, blow her back out on a Tuesday, and go on about your business. And you're going to ghost her if you need to, if you start talking crazy. This is the same thing I see in terms of relationship for the man. So you're out there saying, oh yeah, I have standards and morals to what I believe. But if she knows that you ain't got no backbone, if she knows you ain't about nothing, if she knows you're not going to do nothing, why would she respect you? Why would she respect your boundaries? Why would she respect your standards? Why would she stress herself to meet your expectations when you don't even have the ability to respect yourself enough to say, you know what, I'm going to stand on what I said, I'm going to stand on my ground, because this is unacceptable. This man was tested, measured, and ruled and judged. You know, what's the line in the Nightfall movie? There's a line that it says, hold on, let me find it. Let me find it. You guys know what I'm talking about. Heath Ledger, he played in a movie, I think it's Knight's Tale. It says you were tested, measured, and something else. Hold on, let me find it. You were tested, measured, Tested, measured. Hold on, I have to find it. Knight's Tale. Hold on. Knight's Tale quote. There we did. There we go. You have been weighed, you have been measured, and you have been found not wanting. That is basically what happened to Mr. Jackson. You have been weighed, you have been measured, you have been found not wanting. So, guys, the moral of the story today is if you're going to handle sharing, explaining, and voicing your concerns, your boundaries, your standards, and expectations, do it like Mr. Hill, not Mr. Jackson. All right? Because, yes, women have their faults, but as men, this is where you have the power. You got to choose better. You got to choose better. We all have a kryptonite, okay? We all have this type, this one type of woman that if she comes into our life, she has the ability to make us look stupid. And this is where you're tested. This is where your integrity is tested. Because when that woman comes around and challenges your stances, see, if you don't stand for anything, if you don't stand for something, you fall for anything. When that woman comes around and challenges where you choose to stand about relationship, this is where you know what you're about. And unfortunately, we have too many people who are untested. This is why you have all these people, both men and women, talking about later in life, oh, you know what? I'm looking for something serious. You know, I have standards now. Guys, don't handle this situation like Mr. Jackson did. Take the Hill approach. Manifest respectfully and upfront what your relationship is about, what your standards are, and do not deviate. Stand on your ground. Do not delete. Do not remove anything that you said. Stand on your square. You see, the way life works is that the people who stay with you, those are the people who remain in your life, are the people who choose to stay. And that is a choice that they have to make. You don't convince them. The people who choose to stay in your life are those who remain. So make them understand that this is a choice they have to make. So, in conclusion, guys, I believe the conduct of Mrs. Palmer was inappropriate, and maybe to some people's surprise, I believe that Mr. Jackson's conduct was also inappropriate. You signed up to be number 2, and now you want to dictate like a number 1. I'm sorry, brother. I can't have any sympathy for you any more than I did not have any for Mr. Zion, Mr. PJ Washington, and all the other guys who knew what they were dealing with or should have known what they were dealing with, and now you're voicing complaints afterwards. That's not the way, guys. If you're gonna be a man, be upfront about your dealings. On this note, if you like the content, hey, make sure to leave a like, leave a comment, hit the notification bell, and as always, I'm always open to conversation, criticism. If there's an angle that I took wrong that you feel I've missed, let me know in the comments. I'm really curious to see what are the perspective of many more people on this subject. Because like I said, to me, this boils down to not having a defined standard when it comes to womanhood. And this is where next week in part 3, I will be diving into. On that note, I bid you all a good night, good evening, and Y'all be safe. Take care of yourselves. All right. Peace.